just a visitor at the alien queen's grand ceremony, until everything changed. The planet sprawled below like a jewel, its surface shimmering with colors he had never seen before. From orbit, the world looked alive. Oceans glittered in shades of green and blue, forests glowed faintly as if lit from within, and cities of crystal rose like mountains, reflecting the sun in brilliant flashes. Elias had traveled to many worlds in his career as an envoy for Earth, but something about this place made him feel both excited and uneasy. The shuttle's engines hummed steadily, and the vibrations reverberated through the cabin. Elias glanced around at his team, a mix of scientists, diplomats, and security personnel. Each one seemed just as awed as he was, though some tried to mask it with professional composure. "Steady hands, everyone," Elias said, his voice calm but betraying a hint of excitement. "We're about to make first contact with the leaders of Violia." As the shuttle broke through the thick clouds, Elias caught his first full view of the city. The spires reached skyward like giant crystal trees. Bioluminescent lights traced intricate patterns along their surfaces, pulsing gently as if alive. He could see figures moving along bridges that spanned the gaps between spires. The beings were unlike anything he had ever imagined. Some walked on multiple legs, some floated effortlessly, and others had wings or shimmering skin that reflected the sunlight. Their appearances were so diverse that Elias had to remind himself that this was the same planet, the same society. The shuttle touched down on a smooth platform of polished stone. As the doors opened, a rush of warm, fragrant air met them. Elias inhaled deeply. The air was fresh, filled with scents that reminded him of rain-soaked forests on Earth, but with something extra. It was vibrant, alive. Beyond the landing platform, the city seemed to stretch endlessly, each spire connected by delicate bridges that sparkled in the sunlight. A group of beings approached the shuttle. Elias noticed immediately that they were taller than humans, their movements elegant and precise. Their skin glowed softly in pale shades of gold and silver, and their eyes, large and luminous, seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. The tallest among them stepped forward. "Welcome, humans," the being said, its voice resonating in a musical tone that somehow Elias understood without translation. "I am Caliph, the Queen of Violia. We have awaited your arrival." Elias felt his stomach tighten. The honor of meeting a queen from an alien world was immense, but the presence of such power was also intimidating. He bowed slightly, following the protocol he had prepared. "Your Majesty, it is a privilege to be here," he said. His voice sounded steadier than he felt. "I am Captain Elias Dre, representing humanity." Caliph inclined her head in acknowledgement. "The ceremony is about to begin. You will witness the grand ceremony of Violia, a tradition held for millennia. You are our honored guest." Elias nodded, and the group began walking along the polished bridge that led into the heart of the city. The architecture was astonishing. Crystals grew like trees, their branches forming natural halls and passageways. Light refracted in dazzling patterns across the walls, creating a rainbow of color that shifted with every movement. Strange plants grew in midair, their roots dangling like chandeliers, glowing faintly. Birds, or something like birds, flew alongside them, their wings transparent and shimmering, leaving trails of glowing dust. "Remarkable," whispered Dr. Lena Marshall, the team's xenobiologist. "It's like every corner of this city is alive." "Yes," Elias said softly. "And yet there is order. Every movement, every light, every sound seems purposeful." As they reached the central plaza, the true scale of the ceremony became clear. Thousands of beings of all shapes and sizes had gathered. They stood in perfect formation, their attention focused on a raised platform at the center. Atop the platform, Caliph's throne glimmered like a prism. The queen herself radiated light, a natural aura that made her seem larger than life. The crowd's silence was profound, almost sacred. Elias tried to calm his racing thoughts. He had attended diplomatic events before, but this was unlike anything Earth had ever seen. The aliens moved with precision, yet there was beauty in their movements. The air seemed to hum with energy, as if the very atmosphere of Vyrlia was alive. Kalith raised her hands, and the crowd responded immediately, a wave of acknowledgement rippling through the plaza. Elias noticed that the gestures were not just for show, they seemed to channel energy of some kind. Light pulsed along the bridges and spires, connecting everyone in a network of brilliance. Elias felt a strange warmth in his chest, a sense of connection to the beings around him, even though he was a visitor from another world. "You are fortunate, Captain Elias," Kalith said, her voice now directly addressing him. "Most visitors never witness the ceremony firsthand. It is a moment of unity, a testament to the strength and harmony of Vyrlia. You will see and perhaps understand why we honor life in all its forms." Elias swallowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored to be here." The ceremony began in earnest. Beings stepped forward in pairs, each presenting offerings that were not material but symbolic. Some produced light from their hands, weaving intricate patterns in the air. Others sang, their voices resonating in multiple tones simultaneously, creating harmonies Elias could feel as much as hear. Each act told a story, a history of the planet and its people, and Elias realized that this ceremony was as much about memory as it was about the present. He watched, mesmerized, as one being created a tapestry of light showing the evolution of Vyrlia, from the first seedling of life to the thriving, intelligent civilization before him. The colors moved like living things, and Elias could almost feel the passage of eons. "Incredible," he whispered to Lena. "It's history in motion." "Not just history," she replied. "It's philosophy, culture, emotion. They've found a way to express everything through art and energy. Humans would take centuries to even attempt this." Elias felt a mix of awe and humility. Humans were explorers, inventors, fighters, and thinkers, but they had never experienced anything like this. The realization hit him. This ceremony was not just for the aliens, it was for the visitor too. Every gesture, every light, every sound was meant to show humans something fundamental, that life could be beautiful in ways they had never imagined. As the ceremony progressed, Kalith motioned for Elias to follow her to the throne. His heart raced. He assumed it was a gesture of politeness, perhaps to show the queen where the human observer would watch. He had no idea what was about to happen. The crowd's attention shifted to them. Whispers filled the plaza, though Elias could not understand them. The tone was unmistakable, anticipation. Kalith smiled gently, her eyes meeting his. "Captain Elias, step forward," she said. "Do not fear, you are welcome here." Elias hesitated. His instincts screamed caution, but curiosity and honor pushed him forward. He walked up the steps, feeling the eyes of thousands upon him. The air seemed to thrum with energy. As he reached the throne, Kalith extended her hand, not to touch him, but as if offering a choice. "You have come far, human," she said, "and yet you are more than a visitor. In you, I see the potential for greatness beyond your world. Observe, learn, and perhaps understand that courage and ingenuity are not limited to Vyrlia." Elias froze. He had expected ceremonies, speeches, and perhaps a showcase of alien culture, but never an acknowledgement of human potential. The weight of her words sank in. This was no ordinary ceremony. Somehow he had become part of it, not as an observer but as a participant in something far greater. He looked at Kalith, her radiant form glowing against the crystalline throne. He looked at the crowd, all of them watching, waiting, expecting. For the first time in his life, Elias felt that humans were truly seen, not as conquerors, not as intruders, but as beings capable of greatness. And in that moment, he realized that his journey to Vyrlia had only just begun. Elias Dre stood on the crystalline steps leading to Queen Kalith's throne, feeling both awe and uncertainty. The plaza was silent, the thousands of Virelians waiting, their eyes glowing softly in anticipation. He had expected to be a mere observer, watching the grand ceremony unfold like a strange and beautiful pageant. But now, he realized that he was no longer just a visitor. Something had changed, though he could not yet understand what it was. Calith's gaze held his, and Elias felt a warmth that went beyond mere politeness. "Captain Elias," she said, her voice musical yet firm, "you have shown courage in your journey to our world. Yet there is more I wish to reveal to you. Step closer if you dare." Elias hesitated for only a moment. The ceremony demanded composure, and he wanted to show respect. Slowly, he moved closer to the queen. Every step he took echoed in the vast hall, but the echoes were not harsh. They seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. He could feel energy all around him, a kind of awareness that seemed to reach deep into his mind. From the edges of the platform, several attendants approached carrying a large object draped in silken light. The fabric shimmered with colors that Elias had never seen before, constantly shifting and flowing as if it were alive. One of the attendants carefully unveiled it. Beneath the shimmering fabric lay a mantle, unlike any clothing on earth. It was woven from threads that glowed faintly, and as Elias looked closer, he realized that the threads seemed to respond to his presence. The crowd gasped, not in fear but in admiration. Elias felt his pulse quicken. He had been trained for diplomacy, for negotiation, for survival in hostile environments, but nothing had prepared him for this. He was being offered a mantle, a ceremonial honor, and it was meant for him. Calith extended her hand toward him again. "Captain Elias, this is the mantle of recognition. It is traditionally given to those who show qualities that inspire not only our people but all who witness them. You have been observed carefully. Your courage, your clarity of thought, and your empathy have set you apart." Elias' mind raced. He had not done anything extraordinary, at least not intentionally. He had traveled to this world as a diplomat, hoping to build bridges between humanity and the Virelians. And yet, somehow, the Queen saw something in him. He swallowed hard, trying to find words, but none came. One of the attendants gently helped him into the mantle. As he lifted it over his shoulders, Elias felt a strange warmth spread through his body. It was not just physical warmth. It was a feeling of connection, as if the energy of the ceremony itself was acknowledging him. The threads of the mantle seemed to vibrate in harmony with his heartbeat. The crowd responded with a ripple of light that traveled across the plaza. Elias realized that the Virelians were not merely spectators. They were participants in the energy of the ceremony. The way the lights moved and flowed, responding to him, made him feel both honored and overwhelmed. He looked to Queen Calith, who smiled softly. "You are more than you know, Captain," she said. "The mantle is a symbol, yes, but it also awakens potential. Humans are rare among the stars. Your species has survived hardships that no other life has faced. You are adaptable, resourceful, and capable of courage beyond expectation. That is why you are here and why you are honored tonight." Elias took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. He had never imagined that humanity would be recognized in such a way by beings from another world. He glanced at his team, who were watching silently, their faces reflecting a mix of astonishment and admiration. "Doctor." Lena Marshall gave him a small nod, and he felt a surge of reassurance. They had all traveled together, yet this honor was personal, almost spiritual. As the Queen continued to speak, Elias felt a new awareness growing within him. It was as though the mantle was more than a piece of ceremonial clothing. It was a symbol of trust, a recognition of potential. The energy in the plaza seemed to encourage him, urging him to step beyond his role as an observer and into something more. "Captain Elias," Calith said, her voice carrying across the plaza, "the ceremony is not merely a tradition. It is a test of character, a reflection of what one can contribute to the greater harmony of the galaxy. Tonight, you have shown that humans are more than just visitors. You have shown that you can understand, respect, and participate in the unity of life across worlds. The words sank in, and Elias realized the truth of them. The journey that had brought him here was not just a diplomatic mission, it was a challenge. A challenge to see if humans, with all their imperfections, could rise to the expectations of a civilization far older and wiser than their own. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the plaza. It was not a sound in the human sense. It was a vibration that Elias felt in his chest, in his mind. The attendants began moving again, and from the edges of the plaza, creatures of all forms approached, each carrying a small token. Some were gifts of light, some were small sculptures of crystal, and others were intricate devices that seemed to pulse with energy. Elias watched as the queen gestured for him to receive these gifts. Each one seemed to contain a story, a lesson, or a memory. As he touched them, he felt flashes of understanding, images of Virelia's history, its triumphs and struggles, and the values that guided its people. The gifts were not mere objects. They were vessels of knowledge, passed from one being to another as a way of sharing wisdom. One of the gifts pulsed with a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Elias held it carefully, feeling a connection that was difficult to describe. It was as if the planet itself was acknowledging him, welcoming him into its story. He realized that this honor was more than ceremonial. It was an invitation to belong, even if only in a small way. The crowd's attention remained fixed on him. He felt their collective curiosity and respect. There was no hostility, no judgment, only the recognition of potential. For the first time, Elias understood what it meant to be truly seen by another species, to have one's abilities and values recognized without expectation of payment, reward, or fear. Kalith stepped closer, her hand resting lightly on the mantle. "This honor is not given lightly," she said. "It is a recognition of what you can bring to the galaxy. Humans have been underestimated for millennia, yet here you stand, proving that courage, ingenuity, and empathy are not limited to any single species." Elias felt a surge of emotion. He had always believed in humanity, in the potential of people to rise above challenges, to innovate and persevere. But to have that belief reflected back at him by an alien queen, in the midst of a ceremony that spanned millennia of tradition, was overwhelming. He glanced around the plaza once more. Thousands of beings watched him, their forms and colors and lights shifting in patterns that felt alive. He realized that they were not just watching, they were communicating, not with words, but with energy, with intention. Every flicker of light, every hum of vibration was a part of the ceremony, a part of the message. Humans were capable, humans were trusted, humans were seen. "Your Majesty," Elias said finally, his voice steady despite the intensity of his emotions, "I am humbled by this honor. I cannot promise perfection, but I can promise respect, effort, and courage. Humanity will rise to the expectations you have shown us tonight." Kalith smiled, a soft glow emanating from her form. "That is all we ask, Captain. This ceremony is not an end but a beginning. Tonight you are honored. Tomorrow you begin a path that may change not only your world but the galaxy itself." The plaza erupted in a soft wave of light and sound, a celebration that was both restrained and magnificent. Elias felt the mantle shift slightly on his shoulders as if it were alive, acknowledging the promise he had made. He understood that the grand ceremony was more than a display of culture. It was a way to teach, to test, and to inspire. He looked at his team. They were watching in awe, their expressions mirroring his own sense of wonder. He realized that this honor was not only for him but for all of humanity. The message was clear. Humans were not just visitors in the galaxy. They had the capacity to contribute, to create, and to protect. As the ceremony continued, Elias began to walk among the crowd, guided by the queen and her attendants. Each step felt like a discovery. The energy of Violia seemed to respond to him, creating patterns of light that flowed around his feet. He touched one of the glowing pathways and felt visions of the planet's past, its struggles, its triumphs, its unity. He understood, in a way words could not convey, that he was being invited to participate in something far larger than himself. By the time the first phase of the ceremony ended, Elias felt a deep connection to Violia. He had come as a visitor, curious and cautious. But now he stood as a participant, honored and recognized, aware that humanity had a place in a galaxy filled with wonder, complexity, and potential. The unexpected honor weighed on him, not as a burden but as a responsibility. The mantle on his shoulders was more than fabric. It was a symbol of trust, of expectation, and of possibility. And for the first time, Elias Dre felt that humans were truly seen, not as strangers or outsiders, but as beings capable of greatness. The grand ceremony had reached its peak. Elias Dre, still wearing the glowing mantle of recognition, moved carefully among the Violians, feeling the energy of the plaza pulsing around him. For the first time in his life, he sensed that humans were not merely visitors in the galaxy. They were seen as capable allies. Yet beneath the awe and celebration, a tension began to stir, subtle but unmistakable. Elias noticed it first in the peripheral movements of some of the alien nobles. Unlike the majority who radiated curiosity and respect, these few shifted uneasily, whispering in tones that vibrated like low hums. Their eyes, sharp and calculating, seemed to watch not the ceremony but him. Elias frowned. Something felt off. He had been trained to sense danger, to read subtle cues, and instinctively he knew that not everyone present was welcoming. "Captain," Lena whispered, her voice cautious, "I'm not sure, but I think some of the nobles aren't happy with you being honored." Elias nodded, keeping his expression calm. "I've noticed. Stay alert but don't panic. This is still a ceremony. We need to observe, not react yet." He continued forward, moving closer to Queen Caliph. The crowd's energy shifted, almost imperceptibly, as if responding to his awareness. Elias could feel it in his chest, a low vibration of unease that contrasted sharply with the earlier warmth of the ceremony. Caliph raised her hands, signaling the next part of the grand ceremony. Beings from distant corners of the plaza stepped forward to present their contributions, works of art, devices of energy, and offerings of light that danced like living flames. The spectacle was breathtaking, and for a moment Elias allowed himself to marvel at the beauty. Then it happened. From one side of the plaza, a ripple of energy surged, faster than human eyes could follow. A shockwave of light swept through the gathering, causing the delicate bridges of crystal to tremble. The crowd gasped, startled, and Elias felt the sudden jolt in his chest, a pulse of energy that made him stumble. "What is happening?" he whispered, gripping the glowing mantle for balance. Lena's eyes were wide with alarm. "It's a disruption. Someone is trying to interfere with the ceremony." Elias instinctively scanned the crowd. The nobles he had sensed earlier were moving swiftly, their gestures sharp and precise. This was no accident. Someone within the plaza was attempting to interrupt the sacred ritual, to challenge the queen and possibly to target him. "Stay close to me," Elias said to his team. He stepped forward, moving toward the source of the disruption. The energy pulsed unpredictably, striking crystals and sending shards of light spinning into the air. Beings nearby recoiled, but Elias did not falter. He could feel the rhythm of the energy, its pattern, and he knew he could find its origin if he moved carefully. The queen's voice rang out, steady and commanding. "Remain calm. The disruption is unwelcome, but we will not allow fear to dominate us." Her hands glowed as she gestured, sending waves of stabilizing energy through the plaza. The vibrations eased slightly, but the danger remained. Elias identified the source, A group of nobles gathered near the far edge of the plaza, their hands weaving strange patterns in the air. The energy they summoned was chaotic, clashing with the natural flow of the ceremony. Elias realized immediately that this was an act of rebellion, an attempt to assert control, to prove that humans were not welcome at Virelia's heart. He had trained for emergencies, but never like this. No drill in human history could have prepared him for an alien energy surge. And yet he did not hesitate. Relying on instincts honed through years of diplomacy and survival, he moved toward the rebels, focusing on observation first. He noticed a subtle pattern in the disruption. The waves of energy were strongest when the nobles' movements were synchronized. Breaking the rhythm could weaken the surge. Elias quickly assessed the environment. The plaza's crystalline structures could amplify energy, but they could also redirect it. If he could manipulate the flow, he could protect the queen and stabilize the ceremony. "Lena, can you project counter-energy?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. Lena nodded. "I can try, but it will require focus. The energy is unlike anything we've encountered." "Do it," Elias said. "We have no choice." He positioned himself strategically, placing one hand on a glowing bridge to ground himself. Lena began channeling energy through her hands, creating a subtle interference pattern. Elias watched the movements of the rebellious nobles, timing each pulse of counter-energy carefully. The clash of forces lit the plaza in brilliant flashes, dazzling even the most experienced Virelians. The queen's presence helped stabilize the situation, but it was Elias and Lena who were at the forefront. The rebels faltered, their synchronization breaking under the pressure of the interference. One by one, the energy pulses weakened and the chaotic waves subsided. The plaza fell silent. For a moment, Elias thought it was over. Then the rebels stepped back, their faces a mixture of anger and reluctant acknowledgement. They had failed to disrupt the ceremony, and their challenge had been met not by force alone, but by the courage and quick thinking of a human. Calith's gaze met his. There was pride in her eyes and something else, approval. "You have done more than I expected, Captain Elias," she said. "You have protected not only me but the unity of this ceremony. Humans are rarely called upon to act in such ways among other civilizations. You have shown that your species can rise to meet challenges beyond expectation." Elias felt a surge of relief, though he remained vigilant. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what seemed necessary to protect everyone here." "You did more than necessary," Calith replied. "You acted with clarity, courage, and understanding. That is why this ceremony now holds even greater meaning. Not only does it honor life, but it demonstrates that cooperation between worlds is possible. You have shown this to all who witnessed the disruption." The crowd, sensing the resolution, responded with a wave of light and energy. The plaza seemed to pulse in rhythm with Elias' heartbeat, almost as if the planet itself were acknowledging his role. The rebels, subdued but not harmed, retreated to the edges, their challenge complete but unsuccessful. Elias exhaled deeply. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of responsibility beyond his own survival. He had become part of something greater than himself, a participant in a living, breathing civilization that valued courage, empathy, and ingenuity above all else. Calith stepped closer, her glow brightening slightly. "Captain Elias, tonight has shown that humans are not just visitors. Your actions have proven that you can understand and respond to threats in ways that preserve life and unity. That is rare, even among the Virelians themselves." Elias shook his head slightly. I didn't expect this. I thought I was here only to observe, to learn." "And yet," Calith said gently, "you have taught as much as you have learned. You have shown that adaptability and courage are universal qualities, not confined to any single species. Humans have much potential to offer the galaxy, if only they are given the opportunity." Elias glanced around the plaza, noticing the subtle shifts in the crowd's behavior. Where there had been skepticism and curiosity before, there was now respect. The Virelians seemed to recognize him not only as a guest but as an ally, a being capable of contributing meaningfully to their society. Lena approached him, her eyes wide with admiration. Elias, that was incredible. You didn't just react, you led. You analyzed, adapted, and protected everyone here. Even the Queen looks impressed. Elias smiled faintly, still catching his breath. I didn't think I could do it, but I guess humans, we surprise ourselves sometimes. The Queen raised her hands, signaling the continuation of the ceremony. Light and energy flowed once more, and Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer a passive observer. He was part of the story unfolding on Violia, a story of courage, unity, and the potential for humans to play a role among the stars. As the ceremony continued, Elias remained close to Caliph, watching the interactions, the offerings, and the displays of energy. He understood that this event was not just tradition. It was a living test, a reflection of values and character. And he realized that humanity had just taken its first real step toward being recognized as more than mere visitors in the galaxy. The disruption had been a warning, yes, but it was also an opportunity. It had shown Elias that courage, quick thinking, and understanding could overcome challenges that seemed impossible. It had shown the Virelians that humans were capable of rising to meet threats without fear or recklessness. By the end of the evening, the plaza had returned to calm. The rebels had been escorted away, their influence diminished, and the ceremony continued with renewed vigor. Elias looked at the Queen and the assembled Virelians, feeling a deep sense of connection. For the first time, he understood the true meaning of the honor he had received. It was not just a recognition of past deeds, but an invitation to contribute to the future of the galaxy. As the stars began to shine in the Virelian sky, Elias stood tall, mantle glowing softly around his shoulders. He knew that this was only the beginning. Challenges would come, threats would arise, and humanity's place among the stars would be tested again and again. But he also knew that humans could rise to those challenges. They had courage, ingenuity, and resilience, and now they had been seen and honored for it. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of Violia beneath his feet. The journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time he was ready. The humans were no longer just visitors. They were part of something larger, something worth protecting, and something that could change the galaxy itself. The disruption at the grand ceremony had ended, and calm returned to the plaza. Yet the energy of that moment lingered, vibrating subtly in every crystal spire, every glowing pathway, and every Virelian present. Elias Dre adjusted the mantle of recognition around his shoulders, feeling the soft warmth of its glow. What had begun as an honor now carried weight, a responsibility that seemed to grow with every passing minute. Queen Caliph's eyes met his across the plaza. There was an unmistakable pride there, but also a question. Elias realized that the events of the evening had become a test, not only of courage but of understanding, and that the eyes of thousands watched him not with suspicion, but with expectation. He was no longer just a visitor. He was a symbol, a representative of humanity among a civilization far older and more advanced than his own. Captain Elias, Caliph said, her voice ringing with quiet authority, your actions tonight have been observed and remembered. You have protected the unity of this ceremony, upheld the values of respect and courage, and demonstrated that humans are capable of more than we could have imagined. You have begun to change perceptions, not only among your own kind, but among ours as well. Elias nodded, absorbing her words. He had always believed in human potential, but hearing it reflected back from an alien queen, after acting in a situation that could have ended in chaos, was overwhelming. I only acted as any being would, he said softly. I did not intend to prove anything. I just wanted to keep everyone safe. Caliph smiled. "And yet, that is exactly why you have proven so much. Action, guided by thought and compassion, speaks more loudly than words. You have shown that humans, though young in the galaxy, have the qualities necessary to contribute meaningfully among civilizations older and wiser than your own." Elias glanced at the crowd. Thousands of Virelians watched him, their expressions softened now with curiosity, respect, and perhaps admiration. For the first time, he saw the subtle changes that his actions had wrought. The nobles who had opposed him earlier now kept their distance, their anger tempered by acknowledgement of what he had accomplished. Those who had once questioned humanity's worth now regarded him with quiet reverence. He took a careful step forward, feeling the energy of the plaza respond to him. Each pulse of light from the crystals seemed to acknowledge his presence, flowing around him like a current of approval. He realized that the mantle of recognition was not just a symbol, it was a tool, a conduit through which Violia itself could communicate. It glowed brighter when he acted with purpose, responding to his courage, clarity, and intention. "Captain Elias," Caliph continued, "we Virelians have observed many species in our time. Some are cunning, some are strong, some are wise. Few possess all three qualities together. Few have the courage to act when uncertainty threatens, and fewer still act with integrity and thoughtfulness. Tonight, you have displayed qualities that inspire hope, not only for your own kind, but for the galaxy as a whole." Elias felt a surge of emotion. He had always known humanity's potential, but to have that potential recognized in such a tangible and immediate way was humbling. He looked at Lena, who smiled with quiet pride. "Elias," she whispered, "you've changed the way they see humans. You've shown them we're more than what they expected." "Yes," he said softly, "but it's not just about showing them. It's about understanding them too. I can't just act without learning. We're guests here, and this world, it's extraordinary." Caliph nodded. "You have understood well. Action alone is not enough. Understanding is essential. That is the true measure of a civilization capable of growth and cooperation. Your species has demonstrated that it can rise to challenges, but also that it can learn from those challenges. That is why you are honored and why you are trusted." Elias felt the weight of her words. Trust, recognition, responsibility. They were more than mere titles, they were an invitation. An invitation to step into a larger story, to contribute to a future that spanned worlds and species. He realized that humans had often underestimated themselves, believing that they were small and insignificant in the vastness of the galaxy. Yet here on Violia, their worth was not measured by size or technology, but by courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act with integrity. The plaza began to quiet as the final phase of the ceremony approached. Beings stepped forward, presenting gifts of knowledge, wisdom, and energy. Elias observed carefully, noting how each contribution reflected a lesson, a principle, or a story. He felt a deep respect for the Virelians, recognizing that their civilization had survived and thrived not by force, but by harmony, understanding, and shared values. As he watched, he realized something profound. The ceremony was more than tradition. It was a teaching. Each moment, each display of energy and knowledge, was a way to communicate values that words alone could not convey. And in that teaching, he saw the opportunity for humans to grow. They were not only observers, they could learn, contribute, and become part of the galaxy's story. Caliph approached him again, her presence radiant. "Captain Elias," she said, "your actions tonight have transformed perceptions. Where once there was doubt and skepticism, there is now recognition and hope. You have inspired not only those who watched you, but also those who doubted the value of humans. Your courage has become a bridge between worlds." Elias felt a deep sense of responsibility settle over him. He had come to Violia expecting only to observe, to learn, and perhaps to report back to Earth. Instead, he had been thrust into a role he had never anticipated, a symbol of human potential, a participant in a living ceremony, and a bridge between civilizations. "Your Majesty," he said, "I am honored beyond words. I only hope that humanity can live up to the expectations you have placed upon us." Caliph smiled gently. "Expectations are not burdens, Captain. They are invitations. You have shown that your species can rise to meet challenges with integrity, courage, and creativity. That is all we ask. You have already begun to fulfill this promise, and the galaxy will benefit from it." The violins in the plaza began to hum, a soft, resonant sound that vibrated through the air. Elias realized that it was a form of approval, a recognition of his actions and the promise he represented. The energy of the plaza seemed to respond to him, creating patterns of light that flowed across the spires and bridges. He felt a deep connection to the beings around him, a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. Lena leaned close and whispered, "They're honoring you, Elias. You've changed everything tonight." He nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Humanity had often been underestimated, even by themselves. But here in the heart of Violia, they were being seen for what they truly could be: capable, courageous, and ready to contribute to the greater good. As the ceremony drew to a close, Caliph raised her hands, signaling the final act. A wave of energy spread across the plaza, connecting every being in a network of light and resonance. Elias felt the mantle respond, glowing brighter than ever before, pulsing in harmony with the energy around him. It was a moment of unity, a declaration that humans were no longer outsiders but participants in a shared future. "You have transformed perceptions, Captain Elias," Caliph said, her voice carrying across the plaza. "Humans are now seen not as strangers, but as beings capable of greatness. You have shown that courage, understanding, and creativity are universal values, and that they can unite even the most diverse civilizations." Elias looked at the crowd, at the spires of crystal, and at the glowing pathways that stretched into the distance. He understood, finally, that this was more than a ceremony. It was a turning point. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer uncertain. They had been recognized, honored, and trusted. The perception of humans had shifted, not through force or argument, but through courage, thoughtfulness, and action. As he descended from the throne, Elias felt a sense of peace. The unexpected honor, the challenge, and the recognition had all combined to create something extraordinary. He realized that humans, though young in the galaxy, could rise to meet challenges, build bridges, and earn respect. They were capable of greatness, and now the galaxy knew it too. The final lights of the ceremony shimmered across the plaza, reflecting in Elias' eyes. He understood that this moment was only the beginning. Humanity's journey among the stars had been marked by curiosity and courage, and now it would continue with recognition, respect, and the promise of a greater future. As Elias looked at Queen Caliph one last time that evening, he knew that his actions had changed more than perceptions. They had begun a transformation. Humans were no longer mere visitors. They were participants, allies, and potential leaders in a galaxy filled with life, wisdom, and infinite possibility. And for the first time, Elias truly believed that humanity could rise to meet the stars. The grand ceremony on Violia had ended, leaving the plaza glowing softly under the alien sky. Elias Dre stood at the edge of the main platform, his mantle of recognition still shimmering faintly over his shoulders. He had come to the planet as a visitor, a human envoy tasked with observing and learning. But now, he realized that humanity's role in the galaxy had shifted. They were no longer outsiders. They were participants in a larger story, a story that stretched across stars and civilizations. Queen Caliph approached him, her radiant presence a constant reminder of the honor he had received. "Captain Elias," she said, her voice calm yet powerful, "your actions have proven to all who witness them that humans are capable of courage, wisdom, and understanding. You have not only preserved our ceremony, but you have also inspired confidence in your species across worlds." Elias bowed slightly, his mind racing. He had never sought fame or recognition. He had only acted according to his principles. Yet the Queen's words carried weight far beyond personal honor. "Your Majesty, I am humbled. Humanity has much to learn, and we will work to meet the expectations you have shown us tonight." Calith's eyes gleamed. "Learning is part of every journey. Tonight, you have begun a new chapter. Humans are now recognized as beings who can contribute meaningfully to the galaxy, and we will welcome their involvement. But it is not enough to be recognized. One must act, and one must build the future." Elias nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He looked over the plaza, at the glowing spires and bridges, at the thousands of Virelians who had witnessed the events of the evening. There was a shared energy, a rhythm of life and unity that pulsed through the city. It was not only a ceremony, it was a demonstration of what civilizations could achieve when they worked together. "Your people," Calith continued, "have long been underestimated. Few have seen your resilience, ingenuity, and courage. But now, humanity has an opportunity to step beyond the boundaries of your world and contribute to a galaxy filled with life and knowledge. The path ahead will not be easy, but you have shown that you are capable." Elias felt a surge of determination. He understood now that his mission had transformed. It was no longer simply about observation and diplomacy. It was about building bridges between civilizations, about showing humanity's value through action and integrity. He could feel the responsibility of this task pressing on him, yet it was not a burden, it was a purpose. "Your Majesty," he said, "I will do everything in my power to ensure humanity meets this opportunity. We will learn, we will contribute, and we will rise to the challenges that await." Calith's smile was warm, almost maternal. "I believe you will, Captain Elias, and more importantly, I believe your species has the potential to inspire others to do the same. Tonight, a new era begins, not only for humans, but for all civilizations willing to embrace cooperation, understanding, and courage." Elias looked at Lena, who stood beside him, her expression a mixture of pride and awe. "We've come so far," she whispered. "And yet it feels like this is only the beginning." He nodded. "Yes, tonight has shown us what humans can be, but the real challenge is what comes next, how we take what we've learned and build a future worthy of this recognition." The plaza began to empty slowly, as Virelians returned to their homes and duties. Yet Elias felt no sense of closure. The night was alive with possibilities. He walked with Calith to a quieter area of the city, where the spires glowed gently in the soft light of distant stars. The Queen's presence was calming, yet her words carried authority and vision. "Captain," she said, "the recognition you have received is not just for you. It is a message to your people. The galaxy is vast and filled with life, and it needs those who are willing to act with courage, creativity, and compassion. Humans have proven that they can rise to the occasion, but they must continue to do so. You are a bridge, a symbol, and a guide." Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. He realized that humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer defined by fear or caution. It was defined by potential, the potential to act, to learn, and to create. He could see it now, a future where humans contributed not only to their own world but to the greater harmony of life among the stars. "Your Majesty," he said, "I understand. We will not take this opportunity lightly. Humanity will rise to meet the challenge, and we will work to earn the trust and respect that you have shown us tonight." Calith nodded. "I have no doubt, and to help you, we will offer guidance, knowledge, and cooperation. The path ahead will be difficult, but it is a path worth taking. Together, humans and Virelians, and perhaps others, can shape a future filled with hope and achievement." As they walked through the city, Elias noticed how the people around them now moved differently. Where there had once been curiosity and skepticism, there was now respect. He saw young Virelians practicing energy manipulation in quiet courtyards, sharing knowledge and demonstrating skills that reminded him of human schools and workshops. He saw elders smiling at the interactions between humans and Virelians, as if acknowledging that a new chapter had begun. Elias realized that his actions during the ceremony had ripple effects far beyond the plaza. Humans were no longer strangers. They were recognized contributors, capable of shaping the future in collaboration with other civilizations. And that recognition carried a responsibility to act wisely and thoughtfully. "Captain Elias," Caliph said softly, "tonight you have shown humanity's potential. Tomorrow your people will face choices that may define their place among the stars. You must guide them, inspire them, and demonstrate that courage and integrity are universal values. The galaxy is watching, and it is waiting for those willing to rise." Elias felt a surge of determination. He understood the stakes. This was not about glory or power. It was about shaping a future where humans could act as equals among other civilizations, where their qualities could be recognized and their actions could matter. He felt the mantle's warmth, as if it were affirming his resolve. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said, "we will rise. Humanity will meet the expectations, and we will continue to prove that we are capable of contributing to the greater good." Caliph smiled, a gentle glow surrounding her form. "I believe you will, and I believe your species will inspire others as well. This is a new era, Captain Elias, a time of possibility, cooperation, and growth. Carry this honor with wisdom, courage, and humility, and the galaxy will remember you and your people for generations to come." Elias looked out over the city one last time that night. The spires of crystal reflected the starlight, shimmering like beacons in the darkness. He felt the energy of the planet, the pulse of life that connected every being, and he understood that humans had been given more than recognition. They had been given an invitation to participate in a galaxy filled with potential. He turned to Lena and the rest of his team. "We've been given a chance," he said quietly, "a real opportunity to show what humans can do. We can't waste it. The galaxy is bigger than we imagined, and it's waiting for us to rise to the challenge." Lena nodded. "I believe we can. We've seen what's possible tonight. We just have to keep going, learn, act, and lead by example." Elias felt a quiet confidence growing within him. Humanity had survived countless challenges on their own planet, and now they had the chance to contribute beyond their world. Their courage, ingenuity, and empathy had been recognized by one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. It was both humbling and empowering. As dawn approached on Virlia, the first light of the planet's sun reflected off the crystalline spires, casting long patterns across the city. Elias stood with Caliph at the edge of the main platform, watching the world awaken. He felt a deep connection to the planet, to its people, and to the role humanity could play in the greater cosmos. "Captain Elias," Caliph said, her voice filled with quiet strength, "this is only the beginning. Humans have the potential to rise, to contribute, and to inspire. The grand ceremony is a reminder of that potential, and you have shown that you are ready to embrace it. Go forth, act wisely, and let humanity's light shine across the stars." Elias bowed, feeling the mantle's warmth one last time. "We will, Your Majesty. Humanity will rise, and we will honor the trust and recognition you have given us." As he prepared to leave the city and return to his people, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. The grand ceremony had not only honored him but had illuminated a path forward, a path where humans could prove their worth, act with courage, and build bridges across the galaxy. He understood that the journey ahead would be long and challenging, but it was a journey worth taking. The transport ship waited on the platform, its engines humming softly. Elias glanced back one last time at the glowing spires of Virlia, at the city that had changed his understanding of the galaxy, and at the queen who had shown him the possibilities humanity could achieve. With a deep breath, he stepped aboard, ready to return to Earth and to the people who would carry humanity's new role forward. He knew that humans were no longer just visitors in the galaxy. They were participants, allies, and a force capable of rising to meet challenges beyond imagination. As the ship lifted into the sky, Elias looked down at Violia one last time. The planet shimmered like a beacon of hope, a reminder that courage, integrity, and ingenuity were recognized and honored across worlds. Humanity had been seen, humanity had been tested, and humanity had proven itself. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and Elias felt a thrill of anticipation. The galaxy was vast, full of life and possibilities. Humans had a place among them, and they were ready to rise. And so a new era began, not only for Violia, not only for humanity, but for all civilizations willing to embrace courage, cooperation, and hope. Elias Dre smiled, feeling the mantle's glow fade softly. The journey was far from over, but humanity had taken its first true step among the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again.